One Piece is one of the biggest series of the last 30 years, and many people love it for the Straw Hats, the main characters of the series. The Straw Hats are one of the most important things that make the series popular as well as make the series work as a story. Many people have their favorite Straw Hat and which ones they think are the worst. As for me, my favorite Straw Hat has always been Zoro, but that's a different story for another day. But another Straw Hat that I really used to like a lot was Sanji, pre-time skip. I think Sanji before the time skip was probably one of the more interesting characters in the Straw Hats. But afterwards, he just felt like he got flanderized and no longer fit the original build that it seemed he was going out for. Today, we're going to discuss the evolution of Sanji and why I feel like he rose to really high heights and then fell to really low lows. And now in the series, it seems like they're trying to catch up to where he was originally in the story. If you end up enjoying this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as it helps the channel out a lot. So let's get on to the topic of today. Sanji is first introduced during the Baratier arc. During this arc, the crew finally goes to a restaurant to get some food after it's been a minute since they haven't had any actual real food, as there's no chef on the crew yet. The crew at this moment includes Nami, Zoro, Usopp, and Luffy. None of them are actually chefs, so it was pretty beneficial for them to go here and hopefully find a new chef for the crew. Sanji is soon introduced to us, and then we get to see his first character trait, the most memorable one that most people think about when you think of Sanji, his love for the women. Sanji back then was shown to be a ladies' man, and then we see his second most important character trait, he doesn't fight with his fists. As he's a chef, he needs to keep them protected at all hands. So instead, he fights with his legs and his feet. This arc really sets up Sanji very well. We learn his motivations, his character traits, and everything about him. And in this arc is pretty much one of the peak moments for Sanji, as you don't get to learn much more about him for a little bit, but this arc really sets up everything you need to know about this character, at least pre-time skip era. Even when he interacted with Nami, he wasn't shown as a pervert. He was just shown as someone that was trying to be a ladies' man, or is a ladies' man and just wasn't working on Nami. I really like this version of Sanji, as I think this is the best version of him, or at least one of the best versions, but we get to see him more later on. Let's move on to the next arc and what he does in the Arlong Park arc. I'm going to jam together Arlong Park and Logtown, as together they don't really change much for Sanji, but he does really well in both arcs, and he stands out above a lot of other characters despite the fact that he is the newest Straw Hat at this point. Sanji, alongside the rest of the crew, would go to Reverse Mountain and have one of the most iconic moments in the series, the barrel scene, where he would re-announce his claim to finding the All Blue. The rest of Reverse Mountain would play the same, and he'd have the same role, especially in Whiskey Peak, being a background character, not having much to do, as those arcs were more about Luffy and Zoro specifically. But then you have Little Garden, where it would reveal one of his more important roles in the crew at this time in the pre-time skip era. That role of being a guy that could do the background stuff while everyone else is up front doing more important things, while he's playing important roles by doing stuff like, finding out about Crocodile, being introduced as Mr. Prince, something that would carry on all the way till the Alabasta arc, where he'd eventually be important enough to save the crew during their time stuck in the Sea Prism's prison. Alabasta continues to showcase his trait of not hitting women with his fight against Bon Clay, because every time he turned into Nami, he wouldn't hit him, as I think this is a really good trait for him, as it made him stand out among a lot of other shonen characters. When other shonen characters didn't hit women, it never felt like it was important to their character. It felt like they had to do that just to stay looking like a good guy. While Sanji, it felt integral to his character that he didn't hit women. Sanji plays some pivotal roles during Skypiea and Jaya, being the one to explain the story of Nolan, as well as having a huge moment against Enel, where he protects the Straw Hats, having the cool moment of, I needed a light, thank you. Water 7 and Enies Lobby would be probably Sanji's best two arcs overall, as he'd have the cool moment of getting onto the water train to try to save Robin and have a really cool mini arc to himself, as well as Enies Lobby having the cool fight against the wolf guy. I forgot his name, I think it's Jabra. Please remind me in the comments, because I know you guys will. Overall, the Water 7 and Enies Lobby are probably the best arcs for the Strides as a whole, as everyone gets a moment to shine, as well as expanding on a lot of their characters. But now I have to talk about Thriller Bark. The first L of Sanji that we have to discuss is, of course, the pervert scene, the first ever pervert scene of Sanji. Sanji telling Absalom that he wanted the same fruit that he had to use on women in the bathroom kind of disproves a lot of the stuff that I'm trying to say, that he wasn't a pervert pre-time skip. But this is the only L and the only time he ever talks like this. And I also think it breaks canon, because it seemed like he didn't know what devil fruits were when he met Luffy for the first time. So it's up to you if you want to count this as an actual true L, but I'm calling it as an L because this is the first time he ever shows any pervert tendencies. Then Sabaody happens, where he has the little opening scene of people mistaking this dude for him. But overall, this arc once again doesn't have a lot for Sanji to do, as then he gets wiped away with the rest of the crew, going to different islands to start the train for the time skip. Up to this point in the story, Sanji's been shown to be a ladies' man, a little bit of a chivalrous person, as well as a man that only fights with his feet. But then the time skip changes a bit about him. Let's talk about why the time skip changed a lot about him. First off, with where he trained during the time skip. Buma sent Sanji all the way to Kamabaka Kingdom on Peachy Island, where he would learn to train how to do a bunch of things such as arm and hockey, as well as some of the CP0 techniques that were shown off during Enies Lobby. From what was shown, we got to see Sanji running away from a lot of the people that lived in the Kamabaka Kingdom, as well as even joining their group of Okamas, and seeming to be very inclusive towards them after all them running away. But thanks to this, when we see him in the time skip, apparently not being around women for so long turned him into a nose-bleeding idiot of a pervert, which I'm like, why? He was perfectly fine the way he was before. Why did we have to change his character this much just to make more gags out of it? These jokes don't even feel character specific to Sanji. These feel so generic that any shonen pervert could fill the same role. That's why I preferred pre-time skip Sanji. All the jokes made at his expense fit his character, while these just feel like they're trying to reshape his character to fit these jokes rather than the other way around. Because of his lame joke, he's out of commission for the rest of the arc. While every other try gets to have a moment at the end, fighting a bunch of fishmen, he doesn't do anything in this arc, and then because of him, this arc gets dragged out even longer. But overall, Fishman Island arc isn't that good of an arc, so I guess you can give it a pass. But then the next arc, Punk Hazard, the worst arc in the series, if you ask me, has another pervy moment. He gets switched with Nami and he's touching on her boobs or whatever. And it's like, all right, man, you're making really the low level fruit jokes here. And it's like, come on, dog. What happened to Sanji being so cool? Like, he's not even cool anymore at this point. He's losing all this aura. Then there's the fucking joke that's done in Film Z where after Nami gets turned into a literal child, he's like, oh, I'll still marry you. Like, what? Come on, dog. Like, what are we doing? Come on, dog. Like, I know it's not canon, but I'm just saying, like, this is way worse than the fucking Thriller Bark scene. Because at least the Thriller Bark scene was talking about fucking women his age. But like this time, he's talking about a literal child that's his friend. And like, I can't see original Sanji ever making this statement. Like, what are we doing? What the fuck are we doing, dog? What are we doing? Then mercifully, fucking Dressrosa puts him back in the background where he doesn't do much outside of interact with Violet, who, once again, is his age or a little bit older. I can't remember at the top of my head because, One Piece ages are very inconsistent. But yeah, him simping over her, fine. I can understand that. That's at least more in line with the character that I actually see Sanji as. But then he has a good moment against fucking Don Flamingo where he fights. And then the whole big mom scene. Once again, they're finally going back into the right direction. But why did it take so long to bring him back to this point? Like, at this point, I don't care about Sanji anymore. Like, there's other characters that are so much better. Like, fucking Frankie gets more better scenes. And Frankie was one of my least favorite Straw Hats back in pre-times because he didn't get that much time to be with the crew. Wano and Egghead don't do much for me when it comes to Sanji, as he just gets a power up and now just jobs out to people that Luffy and Zoro can beat. As before he was a subversion of the character trope known as pervert in anime, now he basically fell into the trope that he was subverting, and now he's just back to being like, he's cool, but like he should have already been at this point far before Whole Cake Island fixed it. Like, Whole Cake Island shouldn't have had to fix it in the first place. But if you disagree with me, tell me in the comments, because I really want to know how people really feel about Sanji now. I know there's Sanji fanboys that are still going to ride for him, and there's also the Oda Me riders, but that's a different conversation. Anyway, hope you guys have a good day. This has been Metal Man, and I'll see you next time.